Welcome, Valentine's Day is almost here, and we are going to do this sweet little Valentine gnome. I'm Viv with Art with Viv, and this is the place you want to be to reconnect with your creativity. All right. Now, I've already sketched my little gnome man out, and I am just going to get some nice pink, mix a little bit of gray in there, and maybe a little bit of yellow, and that's going to be our flesh tone. And we're going to paint his whole face, avoiding his eyes. We don't want to paint his eyes because we want to paint those a different color and not orange. So we're going to paint around his eyes, but we're going to paint the rest of his face, this nice peachy color that we've just mixed up. And while it's still wet, you want to add some blush so that he's got some nice little red cheeks. And then his nose, we're just going to do a darker version of his face color. Now I'm just lifting a little bit of that blush out. We might have got a little bit too strong in there, so I'm just lifting it out with my damp dry brush. And I'm just putting a little bit more of the flesh color over his face to darken it up just a little bit and get some of that out from under his eye. There, he is looking cute already. Oop, I'm trying to get everything situated. So now I'm just going to get a nice bright reddish pink, and I am going to paint his heart. Now if you would like the outline drawing and the supply list, then you might want to consider joining my Sweet Art Squad. It's only $5 a month. You get 4 videos, and a month all of my Monday mini videos are in there. And you get the outline drawing, a supply list, and a reference photo, if there is a reference photo. Obviously, there are no live gnomes in my part of the country, so no reference photo for the gnome, but you will get the painting to go by, a picture of the painting. So I've got this little heart all painted nice and pink, and I am adding a little bit extra paint where I want it to be a little bit darker while it's still wet, and letting that water blend it out so it's soft. It's got the soft edges, a soft blend. We don't want the hard edges in our heart. And now I'm just adding a little bit of a darker color, a little darker shadow from that peach that we did for his skin tone. We're going to do that in his eyes, around his cheeks, and around his nose. Just darken that up a little bit. And that'll give a little more shape to his face. And that also makes him look like he has a little bridge of his nose and some eyebrows. Now on the inside of the eyes, I have gotten some blue, and I am just going to paint the inside of his iris blue. I'm leaving a little bit of the white showing so that his eyes look a little bit lively, have a little highlight in there. Now I'm just going to start painting the band on his little cap, and I am doing it in 2 different tones of red, and I'm going to alternate those. So one color is going to go on every other stripe or every other little rib there, and then the darker color or a different color is going to go in between. Now I'm trying to keep it light in the center, so what I'm doing is I'm painting around the edges and then taking some clean water and blending that color out to the center of the little rectangle, so that it stays darker on the edges and lighter in the center, and that gives a little bit more dimension. I'm going to let you watch, and I will return shortly. I've let those pink stripes dry pretty much, and I'm going in with a darker, deeper red, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to trace around or paint around the outside edge, and then use some clean water to bring that paint to the center. And if you need to, take your damp dry brush and lift a little bit of the highlight out. So I'm going to let you watch, and I will return shortly. So once you get his cap all painted in, we might want to do a little bit more shadow work across not across the bridge of his nose, but down the side of his nose and where his eyebrows are, and put a little shadow where his beard is making a shadow and the hat's making a shadow on the side of his face. So we're just going and adding another layer of his peach tone there. Next, we are going to work on his little shirt, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stripe it just like we did his cap, with light stripes and darker stripes. Oop, I just realized I forgot to paint his little ears in, so let's just take some of that flesh color that we mixed up and paint his little ears in. Man's got to be able to hear. I don't know what I was thinking. So we got his little ears on now. He is starting to look bright and cheerful. And we're letting those pink stripes on his little shirt, we're letting those dry some. I'm going to add a little bit more shadow work around his face, making his nose just a little bit darker, like he might have a cold or something. Now I'm just painting in his mittens with a nice purple. And then we'll just go ahead and fill in the stripes now with the darker color red in between those pink stripes that we got going on there. He is starting to come to life now. And I'm just blending out underneath his eyebrow bone, his brow bone there, just to blend it a little bit more. And I'm going to add a little bit of darker purple around his gloves just to put a little shadow on there, and then just blend it out with some clean water. And I think I'm going to paint the hearts on his pants, the purple to match his gloves. And I'm also going to do the hearts on his hat purple. So I'm going to let you watch, and I will return in just a second. And I think I'm going to paint his little hearts that are sort of dangling from the tip of his hat. I'm going to paint those the pink, a nice bright pink, not purple, because I want them to look like they stand out from the purple hearts and not just kind of flowing off of his hat. But you can paint yours any color you'd like. You don't have to follow, exactly what I do. Be creative, use your own judgment. His little boots are going to be red to match the heart, I think. So we're just painting his little boots red. Now I'm getting a nice watery gray, and I'm just going to paint the shadows in his beard just to give his beard some dimension, make it look like he has a flowing, beautiful, thick beard. And his mustache too. Don't let me forget his mustache. So I'm just painting, just doing random brush marks to indicate the flow and the growth of his beard. And his beard's kind of peeking out below the little heart here, so we'll have to get some down there too. He's got a really long beard, as most gnomes do. So we want to get him looking good. And I'm adding a little bit of a darker gray where his little mouth would be. A little shadow under his nose across his mustache. And now I'm just going to paint around these purple hearts with some of the red. He is going to be a colorful gnome, if nothing else. He is going to be bright. He reminds me of those sweet tarts, not sweet tarts. Those conversation hearts that are all different colors. I don't know why, but that's what he reminds me of. And I think I'm going to match his hat to his pants. So we're going to do the background in those with a little pink. Now, if you want to get fancy with it, you could have masked out all the little hearts with masking fluid, then painted the background first, then took the masking fluid off, and then painted your hearts. But I'm just living dangerously. I am living on the edge, and I just painted the hearts first, and now I'm doing the background, and I don't even care. You do you, boo. You do your painting the way you want to do it. So that's the way I wanted to do it, and that's how I'm doing it. But I am letting you know there's an alternative way. You don't have to do it the way I did it. You could do the masking fluid on the hearts and then do the background, and then take the masking fluid off once the background dries, and then paint those hearts. Totally up to you. I mean, again, this is a card. We're not doing the Mona Lisa here. This is just a little card. And he's a cute little card, if I do say so. And we can just paint some of these little hearts that have fallen down here on the ground. And we're just going to paint them all the different colors, the purples, the pinks, and the reds that we've got in his clothing. And we're just going to paint those like that. Now once you get all his little hearts on the ground painted, I'm going to take a black micron pen, or you can use any waterproof black ink you would like. I'm giving him some eyelashes, put a little makeup on him, put a little mascara on him so he got some fluffy eyelashes. And then I'm just going to use the lines to indicate some shadows in his beard. I'm just doing nice little lines through there. And just kind of giving it some definition, We want him to have some definition in his beard. And then I am taking some white gouache, and I am just painting around the edge of that red heart, that bright reddish pink heart, and just outlining the heart with that white paint. This is optional, or you could do it with a dark red. That's totally up to you. I just decided to do it with white. Then I'm going to take some of this same gouache. I am going to add some highlights to his mustache and beard and give him some eyebrows. We want him to have some white eyebrows to match his beard. So I'm just dabbing some little eyebrows up there on his brow bone. And I'm just going to thicken up this line around the heart some so you can see it a little better. And some more highlights in his beard. And he is really, really looking cute. I really like this little gnome. And he's not really too difficult. And I think anybody, if you just take your time, anybody could paint him. Give him some shoelaces and some highlights on his boots with the white. I'm just making his little ears have a little bit of shadow. And I think I'm going to outline each one of these hearts, but you know what? I have decided that it might be a little bit difficult with this tiny brush. So I'm going to switch over to a gel pen, I think. And that might be a little bit easier. So I have a white gel pen, and then I am just going to outline each one of those hearts with it. Be much easier than trying to paint it with that tiny brush. This is optional. You don't have to outline it in white. I'm just doing that because I think it looks good, but if you don't think it looks good, don't do it to yours. Now I went ahead and outlined these mittens too, and then I think the heart needs a little something. It's just kind of plain. I'm outlining his shoes a little bit too so we can see his little booties down there. And I'm just going to give this heart some stitches. So it looks like it's a sewn heart or maybe a cloth heart. So I'm just going to do some little lines all around the outer edge just to indicate maybe some stitches. Yeah, that gives it a little bit more interest. Can you tell I'm just making this up as I go? I'm also going to add a few little lines in his beard to look like, you know, hair attached to his face. I think that looks much better. I just took a red watercolor pencil and I just outlined his little hearts that were dangling off of his hat and just put a little line of red around the edge of his hat just to give it a little definition, a little bit of shadow, and this around his stripes on his little tunic there. So that's just a red watercolor pencil. And I'm just taking my gel pen, I'm just adding a little bit of designs to his hearts that are dangling from his cap, just some little tiny dots. You can barely see them in the camera, but he's got little dots there now. Just taking a little watery gray and just making a shadow that will ground him and attach him to the ground. So he's got a little shadow underneath him, and for some reason I just cannot leave this alone, so I think I'm going to paint some little flowers growing beside of him. I'm going to get my small brush and just get a nice green, and we're going to do some stems and some leaves and then just put some little red flowers on top of them. And the shadow's still wet, so that green is just diffusing, it's just bleeding into that shadow, which is fine. I'm leaving it. I kind of like it. Just going to add some more leaf shapes, and then we are going to do some little red flowers at the tips. And really all we're doing is just doing like little heart-shaped red flowers. I added a little bit of a darker green in there while it was still wet. I'm just going to do little heart-shaped flowers on the tips of these green branches here. And he is almost done. I hope that you have enjoyed him. I hope you give this a go. Again, he is in the Sweet Art Squad. If you want the outline drawing, I will leave the information below. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps me be able to produce more of these videos, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching.